Hi friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Monday, August 19th, 2024. Are you Duggared out yet? Are you Duggar tired? Are you all Duggared? Are you Duggared? People and Jana Duggar over the weekend released more photographs of her wedding to Stephen Wisman, and Jana shared more information about how she decided that this man was the one for her. And a lot of my followers saw the photos and were, one, very happy for her, but two, were like, what are they hiding? Because nothing the Duggars do is without drama, and why is this happening? This all just seems so much. I can't understand this. Is the next shoe gonna drop? Because we know that Jim Bob has this propensity to like do big things like this when big news is gonna come down the pipeline. And I wish I had information to give you that something was going to drop, but I just don't. But I can say that the photographs, while they're very pretty and while Jana's wedding was very different than the rest of the families, it all felt very like damage control to me, of like Jim Bob trying to put on this front that things were very different than what his daughters have been saying. I think, if I'm being honest, that yes, I hope that Jana is very happy with Stephen. I think this marriage was finally allowed to move forward because of all of the negative press that Jim Bob was getting. And I think Jim needed something to put positive spin back on the family. None of this changes, though, what we've learned about the family. So I just want to be clear, like, you can be very happy for Jana. You can be very glad that she found her person, if that's what you want to call it. But this doesn't change the fact that the Duggars are involved in a cult. It doesn't change the fact that the Wismans, while they're not in the IBLP, are still in an incredibly conservative sect of fundamentalism. They are contemporary Mennonites, and they align themselves very closely to the same beliefs that the Duggars have. And so, are they in the same cult? No. Are they still in a cult of some sort? Yes. Is Jana free from the IBLP? No. Is she going to get away from Jim Bob and Michelle? Yes. Will she still be going into a system of patriarchy and submission of women? Yes. So we can say on one side, yes, she is breaking free from Jim Bob. On the other side, she's going to just another sect of something. Kind of like Ginger went to John MacArthur and Jessa went to Ben's flavor of John MacArthur. It's just still a different layer of fundamentalism. Now, the pictures that have been released by People magazine are photographed by Darian Kia Photography, and she also has an Instagram, and the photographs are beautiful, and it definitely shows that Jana and Stephen had a beautiful day. I think you see a little bit more love in their eyes than I saw in the initial set of photos that came out. But Jana's article with People shared more background about how she reconnected with Stephen, and she said that she had been hurt in the past by other relationships, so it took her a long time to open up. And she said, I think I've just been so guarded and just trying to protect and not really hurt again because of everything that's happened in the last several years and how their relationship had dissolved. And she said that something changed when he sent her a letter, a handwritten letter, and that made her reevaluate her feelings for him. She said, I think people would probably seem like it's very weird, but I thought it was so sweet. Honestly, I think if he would have just texted me, I would have been like, hey dude, kind of get lost. I'm not really interested. But I don't know, something about it really hit me, and I was like, he's so sweet. He really has been there, and how had I not noticed it and realized he is great, and I do love him, and I need to be willing to open up and to allow that. And she said it took a few of those moments for her to realize that he was the one for her, and the initial letter led to 2 or 3 letters back and forth before we started texting again, and we just kind of on a that were just on kind of a basic friendship level. And then she said it progressed quickly because then we were like, okay, yeah, no, we do really like each other. Let's just move on. So in the world of Duggars and the IBLP and fundamentalism, relationships move quickly because they don't want to waste time because they don't get to touch when they're not in their relationship, when they're not married. They don't get to have sex. They don't get to be intimate and have the normalcy of a relationship where they get to be one-on-one. And so frequently these relationships move at warp speed because they want to do the deed. They want to get down and dirty. They want to do the Duggar front hugging. So she and Steven had been dating back in 2021, and then that got sidelined when it came to Josh Duggar's trial and then her subsequent conviction for child endangerment. And now that is reconnected, and now they're together, and Jim Bob puts on this lavish event for her with help of the money paid to them, likely by the People magazine exclusives. So I do hope for Jana's sake that she is happy, and I do hope for Jana's sake that she has found the quote unquote one. I don't think that anyone should be believing that she's free, because she's really just moving from one patriarchal society to another, where women don't have the same rights as men. And, women do have a place in this society, and it's not the same as men. So she's not going to be free. She's free from Jim Bob, but she's just going to be moving into another system, because it very much appears to me that the Wismans operate like the Duggars, where Lauren Wisman is the man in charge. Steven is working underneath his father for his father's company. And it's a system where all of the adult children are still living at home with their parents until they get married. You can do with that what you want. Some of you will look at this as a win. Some of you will say, oh, gosh, she didn't get free. But hey, she got married. So at least how I view this is that Jim Bob was tired of getting accused of holding her back, was tired of getting accused of not allowing her to get married, was being accused of forcing her to stay at home with him and take care of his kids and run his family. There was innuendo that he was not allowing her to get married because he might have done something to her. There were accusations that, the older girls basically saying that their sister didn't know she could leave unless she got married. And really, in one breath, he's able to discount some of that by saying, oh, look at her modern wedding. But it's kind of proving their point that the only way that Jana was able to leave was by getting married. And so she had to stay at home until she got married. So if you're 34 and you're not allowed to get married until your dad says you can get married, you have to stay at home. So in one breath, it's like he thinks he's proving a point, but it's really not the flex he thinks it is by allowing this to happen. You can be happy for her. We can all be happy for her. I just hope that Steven isn't a jerk. That's my hope. And it's hard because I don't always have a lot of hope with some of these fundamentalist men. So she looks happy. They look happy, right? So one thing that keeps coming up is Jill. Why wasn't Jill in the wedding? I touched on this briefly in a video last week, and I shared with you that Jill is still deemed dangerous by the family. She has talked very openly about the fact that her siblings have been brainwashed and used to fight battles for their father, and Jana and her relationship really did dissolve due to the hold that Jim Bob has on Jana. For some people, they feel like this wedding would have been a good sign for Jana to show that she has broken free from her father, but it didn't, because she didn't include her sister Jill. To be completely honest, I don't know where Jill stands with the family, right? So I don't think it would have been appropriate for Jill to have been included, because everyone can say that Jill wasn't included, but you also have to remember that Jill's making a conscious effort to not include herself and to stay out of the dysfunction of the cult, okay? And so if Jill's going to be included, that means she has to be going back into a cult, right? And if you're leaving a cult and that cult was abusive to you, that's not safe. And if you're on the outside and you don't want to be associated with it anymore, it's not safe to be like, I'm going to come back and play pretend for this one day for these photographs. And it would have been a photo op for Jim Bob, okay? Because he would have been able to say like, oh, look, there's no strife with Jill, and look, everything's great, and look, she's the person. But Jill wasn't in any of the photos, so there isn't that photo op to dispel that. Okay, so in a way, even if she was included, it would have only been for PR purposes. And the fact that she's not included almost proves to me that the boundaries that Jill has made are unbreakable. Because if your family is still in a toxic system, it's very easy to get sucked back in. And the last thing that you want is to get sucked back into the toxicity and the control, because it only takes like one tentacle to get into you to get you like sucked back in underneath all of it. And in order for her to keep herself safe and her family safe and her kids safe, she needs to keep a wall around her so that she doesn't get pulled back in. And you can't change the narrative. You can't, once the kids have been weaponized against her, she's not going to make Jana see clearly until Jana maybe gets out on her own and can see for herself how Jim Bob operates. In the entire time of her life, she's never had the space or the safety to look at the worldview of who the Duggars are away from them. And so maybe healing can happen now that Jana is leaving, right? She's going to be moving to Nebraska, moving to Lincoln, Nebraska. He bought a house in Lincoln. I know people have already posted the home online. I don't really want to do that. I don't want to post photographs of it. It's a cute little rambler. It needs some work. She says they've been working on it. And I just hope that if she wants to get out from underneath the control of Jim Bob, that this is a step she can do that. But I also hope that there could be a way for her to separate herself from the family and maybe reconnect and realize that the sister that they've all been making the bad person isn't the bad person, and it's really the dad that's causing all of it. Because all the articles also point to the fact that Jana's blaming herself for not getting married soon enough. And really, it has nothing to do with anything wrong with her. Like, she's blaming herself, saying that she thought something was wrong with her because she hadn't been married. And come on, she's 34. You know who else is 34 and not married? Taylor Swift. And is anyone saying to Taylor Swift, I can't believe you're not married. Oh my God, you're not married. What's wrong with you? No. She's a career woman and she's out there and she's kicking ass on her tour. And her tour is one of the biggest grossing tours ever. You know who else literally just got engaged and is 38 years old? Lady Gaga, who's also incredibly successful, has tons of success and has not gotten married young. Getting married in your 30s doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. And the fact that Jim Bob is making Jana feel like it's her fault and there's something wrong with her is the fault of the patriarchy and it's fault of this cult. Like, there's nothing wrong with anyone if they marry later. That doesn't mean anything's wrong, bad, or indifferent. This society shames women that don't get married immediately, and then it punishes them by not allowing them to have a life outside of the family until they get married. Blame the culture, not yourself, Jana, please. And I hope one day you can see that you weren't the problem. It was your father and his control and the shame he put on you that never was your shame to carry, and it was never your burden to have. I'm glad she's out of it, but I'm also just sad that she lived in that sadness for a long time, thinking it was her fault and there was something wrong with her, when what was wrong was the system of how they treat women. So that's the scoop. Do you think this wedding was damage control? What are your thoughts about Jill and Jana? And do you think this is her forever after? Happily ever after? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Bye, everyone.